Senator Bennet is always worth waiting for, and
That's not
he's
true. Recognized
for his
That's
question.
never true, Mr. Chairman, but thank you very much for holding on to things. Ms. Wozinka, thank you for your testimony. Thank you, everybody, for your testimony today, for being here in this hearing. Let me start here. I'm hearing from many constituents that sometimes the brand ADHD medication, Adderall, is often available, but the generic version is not. And this is obviously more expensive for families. Many families can't afford the higher out-of-pocket costs. I don't think parents should have to make these choices. They don't. And to be honest with you, I'm hearing story after story after story of families that are dealing with this not just this problem of generics versus not, but also just the availability of the medicine at all. Could you explain what's going on here and what we need to do to fix it?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for the opportunity. I'll have to start by saying that when a good friend of mine heard that I am going to testify, the first thing she said to me, she's like, "Can you talk about ADHD? Because I can't find the ADHD medication for my son."
Please
the ADHD,
give your friend my regards.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
This is actually a very different shortage. The shortage is driven to a large extent by an increase in demand for the product. And we are in a system where there are challenges in sort of expanding. There's another agency involved, the Drug Enforcement Agency, that has a cap on the amount of product that can be produced, and then they also assign basically market share to manufacturers, the manufacturer quota. And if, it's not we're the only jurisdiction that really has this kind of a system of dealing with potential misuse of controlled substances. And so what ends up happening is that, you put a cap, there's more people that want it that they want, and somehow we're supposed to sort each other out, that the patients that really need it get it, and the ones that are taking it to study for exams and stay up all night don't get it, that there's no system for that. The cap doesn't do that. And then there's also challenges with how the manufacturer quota are assigned, because they tend to be assigned based on historical purchases. That's why in those markets and for controlled substances, the brand frequently gets the largest market share. And it's by how the manufacturer quota are assigned. So,
why do they get the biggest market share?
Because they have to give quota to manufacturers. The DEA has to, manufacturers apply for quota.
So the DEA, there's first, or maybe these aren't in order, but there's a cap.
There's a cap.
And then as a consequence of, or in addition to that, they have to assign a quota to the
That's right. And they have to decide who gets it. And it tends to be, here's another interest, one drug, Vyvanse, went generic this summer. There's 14 generic manufacturers that want to go up for it. And it's a big mystery to everybody how DEA is going to assign the market share to those 14, because they have no historical purchases of this, right? There were no generics prior to that. So this is not within the jurisdiction of this committee, but I do think this is a very worthwhile conversation to be had.
And do you think that, this probably isn't within your jurisdiction as well, but are the demand issues you're talking about, are you familiar with what's causing the increased demand for the drug?
So it's not well documented. We know in which age groups this is happening. Yeah. This is not happening in Medicare. This is happening with young adults and sort of, 30-year-olds.
I mean, I think that you could probably draw a pretty straight line, or maybe a line around the COVID epidemic and the shortages that we're seeing. That's when we started seeing this at the Target, around the corner from our house. And families started to tell me that they were going to 20 pharmacies, 25 pharmacies to try to find the medication for their children that had been prescribed. And I suppose this is an issue to raise with the DEA as well in terms of their
On the
cap?
supply side, definitely, and on the demand side, the FDA does have what's called REMS authority, where if certain patients should be getting this and it should be used in certain situations, there are ways to put in programs to try to sort of control the demand side of it. So there are other mechanisms to
Well,
engage.
thank you for your testimony. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Tell your friend I said hello.
I will
and
do
Mr.
that.
Chairman, thank you for holding it open.
Senator Bennet, as usual, you're raising a very important issue. We've been banging some heads at DEA and FDA, and particularly trying to force some disclosure with respect to whether these manufacturing quotas are being met. So we'll have some more to talk about, and absolutely. Let's see. Senator Whitehouse is next.